All right, it's Wednesday night. It's time to get coffeeed up. This is COFOH Live Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crozier, and I am joined by the amazing Tawnie the Neuro Mermaid. Yeah!
You write something on my face?
That was awesome.
Tawnie, how are you?
Hello. After that intro, like that is so much fun. The glitter, the all of it, the yelling. I was like, dude, you need to have my husband on here.
We have a good time. It's always a party here.
I love that.
Oh, Tawnie, thank you for coming on the show. And it's as I said, before we went on, a few years ago we had a show that we focused on the topic of grieving with my guest Teresa Mercado at the time, and it was great. I think it was something that you know our audience isn't normally privy to, because they're normally we talk about like the fanfare of horror genre and stuff. But with your story, you're an individual who survived two aneurysms, correct?
Yes, too.
Yeah, and you came through that, uh, you know, uh, definitely a changed person, but you're dealing with it. You're improving on yourself in order to cope with it. And then I also kind of related that to the idea of, like, in a horror film, you've got the final girl that makes it through to the end, dealing with all the turmoil and tragedies that are thrown at her, all the obstacles, the slasher, but in this case, it is dealing with you know double medical situations. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and what you've gone through?
So, two brain aneurysms, two brain surgeries. So I say that because not all brain aneurysms end up having a brain surgery. Sometimes they just watch them. So for me, my first aneurysm ruptured when I was 28 years old. That's a big reason they misdiagnosed me when I went to the ER. I told them, that worst migraine of my life. I felt like someone hit me with a baseball bat. I threw up. I don't usually throw up. All these things that I go into detail on all my other things. So if you want more, ask. But for the sake of making it fast, they misdiagnosed me. So I actually went a week bleeding in my brain. So that's crazy enough. They said when they went in there, they figured I wasn't. They go, "There's no way she's been bleeding this whole time." But when they went in there, I was still rupturing. So very, very lucky to live through that. I mean, when an aneurysm ruptures, it's a 50% mortality rate, if not more. 60% are left with permanent neurological damage. So me walking and talking is, I made it out. I'm a warrior. Like you said, I'm the last girl standing. Like, so many things kept happening to make me not almost be here. And then 7 years later, we call them our anniversaries or your stroke anniversary, we found another aneurysm. So plot twist. Oh no, another bad guy. He's still alive.
The sequel.
Yes. So in fact, I deal with things with humor, and I like to attack things head on. So I named, the aneurysm Arnold, which I realized some people was like, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like big bad. And I go, I was raised with Hey Arnold. So I thought
Yeah.
this football kid, like, Arnold, you're not going to bring anybody to the party.
Right.
So luckily enough, I prepared myself for the fact that we may just watch and monitor this, because I have a lot of friends who that's not talked about a lot. I mean, living with a literal ticking time bomb up in your head. So I was lucky enough that I did get to have surgery. I had a coil and a stent put in. So I'm super cyborg. I have platinum in my head. It's very expensive there. I joke that technology sometimes, like this one store I go to,
Yeah.
I always short circuit the cash register, I swear, because she goes, it's never done this before. And I go, it did this. And she goes, oh, it was you. It's you. And I was like, my brain. So,
Oh, what's it like going to TSA then?
luckily, I will say the first time I'm like, am I allowed to go through there? They're like, you have
Yeah.
metal in your body. Luckily it's so small. No, I'm fine to go through all the things, but I do have to fly with a card. And
Right.
actually, recently I was using medical onboard, and recently I had a woman in Vegas. She was like, you clearly don't need it. And she started yelling at me. So that was, yeah, not TSA, luckily gate agent. So
Okay. Huh. Jeez.
bad guys popping up some places. So having what I call like an invisible illness, like you look at me and you
Yeah.
wouldn't see you. I mean, I take it as a compliment when people are like, oh, you look fine, but at the same time it's irritating. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I
No.
looked great.
Yeah. I totally understand. The you know, uh, years ago I had to. Well, this was like 20 some odd years ago. I had a near death experience, and I wasn't supposed to, make it. Somehow I did, but it left me for about, a good 5 years of just, clusters. Yeah, and we had did what was it, CAT scans
Mhm.
at the time, my head and everything, and things looked fine, but I would black out from time to time, at work. So that was interesting. But you know, to survive an aneurysm, was always a very intriguing. When I came across you on Instagram, and then we were corresponding, um, and seeing your story and how you cope with it. I mean, yeah, I love the humor. Every now and then we get the videos of you in the shower singing or playing loud music. To um, you know, is that? I'd imagine that is part of your own personal therapy, or was that something diagnosed or recommended to you by physicians?
It wasn't recommended to me. It was something I found, especially like, don't get me wrong, I love doctors, neurosurgeons are why I'm alive, but also a couple of them missed me. I
Right.
see them as humans, and I really like doing natural, holistic things. So, my anxieties, I have anxiety and depression since it, and I never had that before. And I was managing it with like meditation, breath work, like all these different things, CBD, cannabis, terpenes,
Yeah.
all those things. But it started getting so bad, like I thought I was having heart attacks. Like my chest was so tight. I was waking up and I'm like, this is like, I can't deal with this. And so I went to the lovely internet and found like putting your face in ice cubes or cold water was a great way to hack your brain to release happy chemicals, because you're putting it in a fight or flight situation.
Yeah.
So put an extra spin on it because I actually had my stroke in the shower. So
Right.
every time I'm in the shower, my brain used to always go like, what if it happens again? It's kind of like a
Right.
shark attack. The chances of
Right.
it happening again and in the shower, not, but so I just started doing it, and I started a couple seconds and I built myself up, and it just became this super healing thing, because I even, like, when I went back home to Ohio where I had the stroke, in that actual shower, and
Mhm.
I'm showering while I have another aneurysm in my brain, knowing that there's another thing up there, and I'm like having to coach myself and talk through, like, just having those thoughts. And that's what I tell, like, the cold shower, first of all, they did science, like, they tested people's brain, and you release the same amount of serotonin happy chemicals as people who
Mhm.
do another substance that is not good for you. Okay.
Right. Right.
So as a dopamine chaser, I'm like, that's awesome. But once you start realizing, like, every time I still get into it, I have to, like, coach myself into wanting to do it. Cause if you're warm and cozy, why do you want to get cold? Like,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
don't.
That's me too. In the morning, yeah, I love a warm, cozy shower.
In the last couple seconds, though, what my mom said is it's helped her now get out of the shower. So the last couple
Okay.
seconds, make it cold. You need to get your booty
Yeah.
out of there anyways.
Right.
Just saying. Just saying. Your skin's
Yeah.
gonna like it. Your hair's, well, you don't think you really have to like.
uh, wow. That's great. Well, it's a great way to start the day, and then you don't need any more coffee.
Or middle of the afternoon. I'm gonna dare you to do it in, like, middle afternoon, and
Oh,
see how you feel about that. Just like a nice little
okay.
refresher.
It sounds like a challenge. Yeah. All right. Game on.
Like,
Yeah. I'll report back to you, Coach. Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think it was those videos that was kind of my gateway in uh, you know uh, you following your story on Instagram, and then seeing some of the fun things that you're doing with your activist work. You're scaling up the side of buildings and stuff, and then you're you know I guess modeling in your mermaid, tails, and you even have a nice design that reflects the neural pathways, if I'm not mistaken.
no, yes, thank you. Yeah, I try. So my brain scan is on one of my mermaid tails.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I was like, and I know how crazy it sounded when I wanted to do it, and everyone's like, "What?" And I'm like, I just want to use it to raise awareness, and, like, to change something that, is scary and should have killed me into something pretty. So to get the chance to, yeah, I with the AVM, with the Aneurysm and AVM Foundation, I was able to rappel down a 14-story building in Union
Cool.
Square, like, the Saint Franciscan, whatever. It's like historic. So it was like old building. Like, when we had to get over it, they're like, you can't step on this part because it's, like, special. And,
Oh,
like,
right.
yeah, it was wild. And it was also crazy because I had just had my second brain surgery in June,
Okay.
and I did that in September.
Oh
Like,
man.
which was great to show that, like, if you can
Yeah.
catch it early, how quick my recovery was, because we caught it before the damage. So that's why I just advocate for scans and just,
Yeah.
knowing your body and talking about it.
Yeah. And to that effect, are there any telltale signs that clearly something is developing or of issue?
Well, I say pain is there for a reason. Now, not all migraine sufferers have aneurysms. Let me say that again. You may be a migraine sufferer and you may get this scan and find out, well, sugar, that's just me. But
Mhm.
my neurosurgeon, because I've had migraines since I was 15, he ordered an MRA, which I'm sure most of you guys have heard of, an MRI, a
Right.
CT scan, all these
Yeah.
things. An MRA actually lights up all the arteries, and they would have seen my
Ooh.
aneurysm. He ordered that in February. My
Mm-hmm.
insurance denied me because they said I was too young. He
Oh,
now uses me as an excuse. He goes, in May, hers ruptured. If we would have caught it in February, like I thought, because her migraines were persistent and always continued. So I do
yeah.
say, and family history. A lot of people don't
Mm.
know. They told me that my grandchildren would actually be more at risk. So not my kids. It'll skip a
Oh,
generation.
oh,
Um,
interesting.
and so knowing your family history, I did not have any family history, but a lot of times you find out, oh my God, my aunt had an aneurysm. So if you can find those things out,
Oh.
you can let your
Mhm.
healthcare professionals know to scan for it. The normal things that we should all not have: high blood pressure. That's a
Yeah.
problem. If you're overweight, all of these things, taking better care of yourself. But I will say with the second aneurysm, my equilibrium was off again. And I did stress that. I go, the only other time it was like this was
Mhm.
right after my brain surgery.
Yeah.
But my doctors kept thinking it was an inner ear problem. They sent me to an ear specialist. Luckily, I kept advocating, and on the side, I still got my scan. So I just say, I I don't want to make everybody overcautious, but the things is like if something is getting worse and
Yeah.
persistent, we should go get checked. And here's the thing that I'm finding that's more and more common is you're like, well, I told my doctor, and they're just like, oh, it's just stress or it's just this.
Right.
Here's the thing. It's a relationship. Your doctor, and pardon if there's any doctors listening, but here's a better analogy. They are a car mechanic. If you
Yeah.
brought your car to a shop and they never took open the hood, and they just kept going, they listened to you make all these noises and they looked around really quick and they said, it's fine,
Yep.
and told you to drive away. First of all, would you take that and would you continue to keep going back to them? Maybe
Right.
like you need to advocate for a different doctor or stuff like that. So there are great doctors and great things out there, but I just think being aware, um, and migraines are not. I used to be like, I've had them since I was 15. They happen all the time, blah blah
Right.
blah. But
Yeah. Clearly, they can lead to something, yeah, different, or they're, you know, you know, forewarnings to something much worse down the road too.
and sometimes,
Yeah.
and like maybe it is just you have high blood pressure and you be on high blood pressure medicine, and then that helps everything. So I just think, I
Right.
mean, and I'm saying that I still don't like to go to the doctor. It
Yeah.
stinks. Nobody really likes to, but I'm
No,
like, why don't
not
they
at
stop
all.
bribing us with stickers and candies? Because I need a treasure box to go through after the end of the doctor.
That's me too. I need some kind of carrot to get me through that door. Oh man, yeah, that's pretty intense. With yeah, along with your advocacy, do you it's I think you mentioned before we went live that it's that month to bring more attention to this situation. Are there special events, or you mentioned the foundation too? Is there like fundraising to bring more attention and to study these issues?
Absolutely. So May is Stroke Awareness Month.
Mm.
I know that there are quite a lot of things. I will be honest, usually I would be able to spit off numbers and say things, but I did have a passing of a pet this week. So my brain is just like, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the first. Like,
Right.
so I'm frazzled. But he put my website, I updated it. And
Mhm.
I continue to update it with more information. There are tons of walks. There's tons of ways you can donate. I will be adding on probably to my page sometime today or tomorrow an easier way, because I know of a button. But honestly, just sharing
Mhm. Right.
is so important, because there's a lot of other young stroke survivors. So I was 28 when
Right.
I had mine. I've met even younger. As women, we tend to get misdiagnosed. So, and
Mm.
I just like to say, I know most people, like, I had difficulty talking. It wasn't that I couldn't talk. So I
Right.
just want to remind people, when you are having like a sudden shooting pain in your left arm or these different things, like the fact that I could see double, like that doesn't happen. That's
Right.
never happened again. My neck
Wow.
was so stiff, we thought I had meningitis. Usually you can have
Ooh.
your face drooping. There can be
Yeah.
all of these different warning signs. So just being aware of people around you, is honestly, you don't know whose life you can save by just being like, are you okay? Like I noticed, like if you notice
Yeah.
something on someone, like your eye is not like it's doing
Right.
something different. Let them know because it's neurological and they need help. Like and
Right.
acting fast, that is so definitely.
Yeah. And with strokes, with aneurysms, I mean, there's a whole myriad of brain health, issues that people don't realize, or don't really catch, or it's indicative of something much worse down the road. Um, Everything from things like the dementia, and oh man, yeah, um,
So much, all the
yeah,
concussions. I mean, just people,
true,
getting into car accidents. It's so, I mean, like
right,
PIs, brain injuries are a lot more common. And
right,
the more and more I advocate for it, the more I run into people who are like, oh, I didn't know like it could affect because, I think about it when I was younger. I remember I got a concussion in a sport and they just made sure to tell my mom, don't let her sleep. They weren't like, hey, she might have
yeah,
difficulty um concentrating. She might have emotional outbursts. Like people like, oh, that's, I go, yeah, when your brain is damaged, you like can have all these things. And so I just think reaching out, and that was something that I wish I went to Google. That's not the best place. Go find support groups, go
yeah,
find other people. Obviously your doctors are amazing, but also having the support system is what completely changed my first brain aneurysm from my second one. Because you don't have, we don't have control over anything. Life is happening.
yeah,
We hope for the best, but having people who have walked through similar battles
right.
help.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely those type of support groups. I did have a friend in the last year, car accident. Um, you know, Later on, he was like, "Oh, a little woozy and stuff." I was like, "What are you doing? Let somebody take you to an urgent care or emergency room to get checked out." No, 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 I'm fine. And then then he's like, "Oh, you know what? My spine is swelling up." And it's like, yeah, you should probably, you need to go get checked out, dude. It's like let somebody, take you over there or call 911. So the big dope never bothered. Yeah, he lucked out that he was fine, but it's just like, oh my god, it could have been so much worse. It's like, yeah, yeah, having friends, alert, alert you and everything like that. It's like listen to people around you that might notice something different. Um, yeah, that stuff is freaky, because then you don't might not know if you have that friend tomorrow.
It is. The doctors were like, every time you went to bed, like it is a miracle that you woke up. Like it is just crazy.
Wow,
I mean, I was using neck massagers. They're like, you were massaging blood down your spinal cord. Like, I don't know how you aren't. Yeah.
wow,
Like everything my mom was telling me to do because we thought it was a migraine was wrong. Like the amount of times that they were like, you did what? You did what? I'm
wow.
like, yeah, I was like, I just
Oh,
laid there and used neck massagers and I was just rotating. They're like, okay, so you did the most dangerous, scariest, hardest part at home by yourself while doing pretty much everything. Yeah, it's wild.
wow, that's intense. I wouldn't have thought that. Yeah, that would have been my go-to. It's like, oh, kind of achy massage,
You think
massage.
that.
Yeah,
And also,
yeah.
like, I can't ever go to a chiropractor again after the
Oh
aneurysms. They
no.
also, so it's just some interesting things. But luckily I don't have any other limitations. Like it's funny because, I asked everything. Can I scuba dive? Can I skydive? Like
Yeah.
I want to be able to do everything. And it's like, yep, just don't go to a chiropractor. It's like, okay.
That's one thing. I can skydive. Well, yeah, but no chiropractor.
But
No
then
popping up.
there was that one
Interesting.
model who went, and the adjustment when they move things around and make that pop, you can make,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have aneurysms in their body that they don't know about.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so
Wow.
think about that before you do your next chiropractor appointment.
Yeah, interesting. Oh,
Hope you
that's
have
intense.
anybody on here who's a chiropractor. They're like, dang
Yeah,
it. I'm just kidding.
it's like, man, that's pretty intense. You know, Tawnie, this is tremendous information. Your experience, I think, definitely helps a lot of people, uh, identify these issues, in their hopefully in their own life, and also brings awareness to other people's situations too, and hopefully they seek help. Um, but as you know, granted, this is a horror show, so I'm going to have to ask, you know, what are your go to horror movies that you enjoy?
I mean, it's actually really funny. I love like the classics. So obviously, like any with Freddy, like, but I can't watch it at night because then I will have nightmares. Like he will haunt my dreams. Freddy has done it for years.
Yeah,
Uh, all the Halloweens. I just love them. But I really do. I love Chucky. I love the revive that
nice.
they did. It was so cool. Patrick was actually just on set, and the oldest brother from the White House boy, he was on set, and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, will you ask him to say like "shallow" for me, like, and record it?"
Nice. Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah,
And
and I mean,
nice.
I do like James Wan, his style. He does creep me out for sure, so I would definitely say a lot of those.
Nice. Yeah, he just did that Malignant movie, and I think they've got another Conjuring movie coming out too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, I mean, this is a little tasteless, but it seems fitting with Freddy, right, as the go-to. Yeah, but that's cool. And you said your husband works on the Chucky set?
Well, he was on with the boy that was there. They're working on a separate project, but
Oh, cool.
I was actually like, I should connect. You should probably have Patrick on because horror movies he's obsessed with. I'm trying to think what things he's been on that's like been horror. He's gonna kill me. I'm so bad at that. I know. I'm like, I can only
That's
think.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Yes. Send them my way. We'll geek out together. It'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Yes. I just know that when we went to Hollywood Horror Night, we went with
Yeah.
James Wan, and when
Cool.
we're there, because Patrick was an Aquaman with him, so that's how they met. And so
Nice.
we were at the event, and it was so much fun. And I was laughing because somebody was talking to Patrick, and they were talking about some horror movies. And he
Oh,
said, he was
cool.
like, the guy was like, "Oh, I bet you don't know any of mine. They're super obscure." And Patrick's like, "I've literally seen every horror movie, so try me. I bet you I've seen it." And the guy started talking, and he's like, "Oh, I love that movie." So yes, he is your horror movie buff. I love
Nice.
being scared. I do love the adrenaline, but
Yep.
I'm gonna give this weird side note. After, I just can't deal with as much of the blood and gore since having
Right.
now 2 brain surgeries. I mean, it makes
Right.
sense. People are like, "I get
Yeah.
it." Um, but I love to get scared. In fact, when we were at Hollywood Horror Night, like James said that was so funny. He's like, "'Cause I scream and then I giggle." So I'm like,
Uh,
and then I'm like, "Oh my god, that was so good. That was so good. I loved it." Like,
yeah. Well, and that's the fun thing. Like my go-to is always horror comedies, because
oh,
the
Evil
response is
Dead.
always
Yeah,
the
I
same.
love.
Yeah, it's always the same. You go see like American Werewolf in London. It's just littered with humor and one-liners, and then you've got those great jump scares too. It's you know, and then you can't help but like what you were saying, laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's a good time. Yeah, and you know, with that genre too, it's for me, it's the most accessible. Any you can plug and play anywhere. Yeah, everybody knows. Horror movies always knows those characters. Freddy, Jason,
Yeah.
the Wolf Man, well before they knew, Captain America or Iron Man.
Totally. And I think you're right. It's something like universal, and Halloween is my favorite. I love the month of October. We do nothing but watch scary movies. And it's funny that you say that because I do find myself like I'm more open to watching any scary movie, whereas like an action movie, you know, it's like I'll read a part of it and then I'm like, nope. But like a horror movie, the captions are always, you're like, I have to see like what the heck this is even about. Like,
Right. Well, and these days, way more horror movies around mermaids. So something geared right towards what you do.
go siren on everybody.
Yes. Oh, so cool. Tawnie, thanks so much for being so generous with your time and talking about your story and bringing attention to brain health.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And it was fun to talk about horror movies and some other things. So I appreciate it. Great questions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and for everybody out there, make sure to go to Tawnie the Neuro Mermaid .com. Tawnie the Neuro Mermaid.com. Wow, I didn't realize that was a tongue twister, but it is.
I know. I guess because like I just as a separate word neuro, and then you're like mermaid.
Yeah, the neuromermaid.com. Yeah, to follow up on all of Tawnie's adventures and everything that she's working on and bringing attention to. And you'll have a donation page up for the foundations that you work with as well.
Yes, I already have the info.
Excellent.
You guys, thank you.
Thanks. Hang around for a few minutes while we sign off. But again, thanks for everybody out there that tuned in, and to our sponsors, to Mutiny Information Cafe. If you're going to start a revolution, make sure you're caffeinated. And of course, our friends at Hellfire Entertainment. Thanks for rebroadcasting us on your social media. To Groovy TV. And of course, to Angela Joseph Productions and my producers, Stefan Santa Cruz and Amanda Armstrong. Thanks so much for putting up with me, and to everybody out there. Thanks, guys. Oh, that's cool. Tawnie is magical on there. I can't get my equipment to do that. So
you can. Your heart was just—it wasn't a heart. Yeah, you got
it. Okay. I don't know if I don't think it's kicking off, but we try. So for everybody out there, thanks so much for tuning in. Be good, be kind, help each other out during tough times, and stay spooky, everybody. Till next time, we'll catch you later.